Have you ever trusted someone so completely that even when they were breaking you, you still believed they loved you? That was Hannah. The day Hannah was sold, the sun over Oke-Ila village burned without mercy. It was not the gentle warmth of a new morning. It was cruel, heavy, unforgiving. The kind of heat that made the ground crack and the air hard to breathe. The village was alive with noise. Traders shouted over one another. Women argued over prices. Children laughed, chasing each other through the dusty paths. Life went on, like nothing was wrong. But for Hannah, everything was about to end. Welcome to ID Folktale Stories, where powerful African stories come alive. Get ready for emotional and unforgettable tales that will keep you hooked. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and drop a comment. Stay tuned for more amazing stories. Behind a small mud hut, hidden from the busy world, she stood quietly. Her tiny fingers clutched the edge of her worn-out wrapper. Her feet were bare, stained red from the dust. Sweat rolled down her face, but she didn't mind. She had been playing moments ago. She had been laughing. She had been a child. What she didn't know was that inside that hut, her life was being bargained. Not discussed with love, not protected with care, but priced. Inside, her mother, Morenike, sat on a low wooden stool. Her back was slightly bent, her face tired, her eyes hollow like someone who had already lost something important. In front of her sat two men, strangers. Their clothes were neat, their faces hard, their eyes were not kind. They watched everything like hunters studying prey. Between them lay a mat, and on that mat, money. Coins, notes, stacked, counted, arranged. Each clink was a decision. Each count was a piece of Hannah's future slipping away. Morenike's hands trembled. Not enough to stop, not enough to say no, just enough to show that somewhere deep inside her, something was breaking. Hannah, she called finally. Her voice was dry, empty, like it no longer belonged to a mother. Hannah ran in happily, her face glowing with innocent trust. "Yes, Mama," she said, smiling wide. That smile was the most expensive thing in that room. Morenike couldn't look at her. Instead, she reached for a small cloth bundle and began packing Hannah's few clothes. Her hands moved quickly, almost like she was afraid to think too much. "You are going to the city," she said quietly. "You will walk there. You will eat good food." Hannah's eyes widened with excitement. "The city?" she asked softly. "Like the one people talk about?" Morenike nodded without raising her head. Hannah smiled. A soft, beautiful, trusting smile. She believed her mother. She believed every word. Because to her, her mother was not just a woman, she was safety, she was truth, she was love. But that day, love had a price, and Hannah was sold. When the men stood up and took her hand, Hannah didn't resist. She followed obediently. Halfway through the doorway, she paused and turned back. She waited. Just one smile, one wave, one sign that everything was okay. But Morenike turned her face away. She couldn't watch. And in that moment, Hannah felt something she could not explain. A silence, a deep, painful silence. That was the moment she learned that sometimes silence can hurt louder than screams. The city was not what Hannah imagined. There were no beautiful lights, no happiness, no kindness, only noise. Endless noise. Cars honking, People shouting, doors slamming, a world that never slept and never cared. The men took her to a large compound surrounded by high walls. The gate shut behind her with a loud metal sound that echoed through her chest. That sound felt like a prison closing. Inside, there were other children, but they were not playing. They were not laughing. They were not children anymore. Their eyes were empty, their faces dull, their bodies moved, but their spirits, they were gone. From that day, Hannah's life became pain. She woke up before the sun. She slept long before the night had swallowed everything. She scrubbed floors until her knees burned. She washed clothes heavier than her small arms could carry. She cooked meals she was never allowed to taste. The smell of food filled her nose every day, but her stomach remained empty. Her hands became rough. Her skin cracked. Sometimes she bled, but no one cared. When she cried, they beat her. When she made mistakes, they punished her. When she fell sick, they ignored her. "You are not here to rest," they would say. "You are here to walk." And slowly, painfully, Hannah began to understand. She was not brought to the city to live. She was brought there to suffer. At night, she lay on the cold floor, hugging herself tightly. Her body shook, not just from cold, but from something deeper: loneliness. "Mama," she would whisper into the darkness. "Mama, please come for me." She repeated her mother's name like a prayer, like a promise she was waiting to be fulfilled. But no one came. Days became months. Months became years. And the little girl who once smiled so easily began to disappear. Yet, something inside her refused to die. Not hope, not fully, but something stronger. A quiet fire. Hannah began to watch, to listen, to learn. If the world had turned her into nothing, then she would rebuild herself into something they could never destroy. The night of her escape, the sky itself seemed angry. Rain fell like the heavens were crying for her. Thunder roared, lightning split the sky. Inside the compound, chaos broke out. Voices shouted, men fought, doors slammed violently. Fear gripped Hannah's chest. But this time, fear did not freeze her. It pushed her. Through the confusion, she saw it. The gate. Open. Just slightly. Her heart pounded so loudly she thought it would expose her. This was her moment. Her only chance. Barefoot, trembling, soaked in rain, Hannah ran. She didn't think. She didn't look back. She just ran. Through muddy roads, through dark streets, through fear. She ran until her legs could no longer carry her. And then she fell. Right there, by a quiet roadside shop. Her body weak, her breath fading, her spirit barely holding on. When morning came, a woman stood over her. Strong, firm, observant. Her name was Mama Zainab. And that was the day Hannah's life changed again. Mama Zainab was not soft. She did not speak with pity. She did not offer empty comfort. But she did something more powerful. She gave Hannah a chance. A real one. Under her care, life was still hard, but it was different. There was discipline, there was structure, there was purpose. Hannah learned how to trade, how to speak with confidence, how to understand people, how to survive without begging for love. Slowly, the broken girl began to heal. Not completely. Some wounds never fully close, but she grew stronger, smarter, wiser. And one day, she stopped being a victim. She became a force. Years passed. Hannah was no longer that little girl. She had become a powerful, successful, respected. But her past never left her, especially one face, her mother, the woman who sold her. One question lived inside her for years. Did she ever regret it? So Hannah returned, not as a victim, but as a woman the world could not ignore. Morenike was no longer strong. Time had humbled her. Her body was weak. Her eyes carried guilt that never slept. When Hannah arrived, she didn't recognize her, but something felt familiar. Hannah stayed. She helped. She gave, quietly. And one evening, she asked, "If the child you sold returned today, what would you say?" Morenike broke. Tears fell like a storm she had been holding for years.
Morenike collapsed. "You broke me," Hannah said, her voice soft but heavy. "You sold me like I was nothing." Tears filled her eyes. "But you did not destroy me." Hannah forgave her, but not easily, not completely. "You will live," she said, "knowing what you did and knowing I survived it." Because forgiveness does not erase pain, it only proves that pain did not win. Hannah built schools. She created opportunities. She protected children. No child in Okela would ever be sold again, not while she lived. When Hannah finally left, her mother watched her with tears that would never stop. The child she sold returned as the woman who saved them all. Because sometimes the ones the world throws away become the ones chosen by destiny. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and drop a comment. Stay tuned for more amazing stories.